It's Two on the Aisle with Charles Gross and Jeff Goodman. Two on the Aisle covers the New York theater scene with Broadway and Off Broadway reviews and interviews with the theater's biggest stars on stage and off. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Charles Gross and Jeff Goodman.
This? Cats. Longest running show in Broadway history. Meow! Next show.
Wait a minute.
Oh, please. It's a big garbage dump now. It just stinks.
For what it is, listen, Cats was the first musical of its kind. It ushered in the era of the big set musicals, for better or for worse.
No, it didn't. I'm sorry.
It is based on
the 20th century. Hello.
No,
anyway.
no. True 20th century had wonderful sets, but it's a totally different situation.
And please.
Based on the poems of T.S. Eliot.
But don't you remember the show that was in there before that?
Beatlemania?
No, Beatlemania was at the Palace.
It was originally at the Winter Garden.
Oh, that's right, it was, okay. But that was in there way before. That was after the revival of Fiddle.
Fine, what was there?
42nd Street, not a big show, a big set musical. Okay.
Not quite in the way that
please,
this was.
Cats, Meow, Goodbye, 9 Lives, Close. There's so many shows waiting to open.
It's not a deep show, but for what it is, it's done well, and after up-team performances, it still holds up. Next.
You know what that is?
Yeah, that's
my fur ball. Okay, Annie. Annie's going to close soon, so let's just forget about her.
No, let's talk briefly about Annie.
The Sun did not come out for the 20th anniversary.
I'm very disappointed to hear that they cut out one of the numbers in the show.
Oh, if it doesn't have kids in the scene, forget it.
Yeah.
You could just die. If it doesn't have a dog or a child in that show.
I think that was a very big mistake. They cut out that. We'd like to thank you. When I saw the show, I enjoyed it. I thought the original was
the next thing they were thinking about cutting out Easy Street because that didn't have a kid in it either.
Was a much sharper production. Oh. Nell Carter was good. Certainly will never erase Dorothy Loudon in my memory.
I know. And please, Brittany Kissinger.
Oh, come on.
Oh, I didn't like her.
She may not have been Andrea McArdle, but she did a commendable job.
Oh, please. Made another little girl cry.
And it's still a wonderful show.
It's a hard knock life for them.
I'd like to see it get the production it deserves. But this production still had its merits. Next.
Yeah, not many. Yeah.
And now, then we talked about Annie Get Your Gun with my lovely Sarah Hannah Gross. And Sarah, you really liked this show, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you like it as much as The Sound of Music when you saw it?
Yeah, I liked it better.
You liked it better than The Sound of Music? Wow. How about Peter Pan?
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay to say if you like Peter Pan better. Did you like Annie Get Your Gun?
Yeah.
So you had...
You see, I'm a really Annie Get Your Gun fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorites. So, if you want to know, I'm an Annie Get Your Gun fan more than anything, except Siskel.
Siskel. You like Siskel better than Annie Get Your Gun?
No, I like them both the same amount.
Oh, so that's pretty good.
If you really want to know which shows I like the best, I like Annie and Siskel up the highest on any show I've ever saw.
Oh, so you must really like those shows. Okay, well, I'm going to give Annie Get Your Gun 4 out of 5 playbills. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Reba McEntire, welcome to Broadway. Stay, stay, stay. We love you, Reba. Are there any other, I know what other show you like. Annie.
Annie what?
Annie, just Annie. With the song Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that.
But Annie and Siskel are still the highest. Annie and Siskel are the highest of anything.
Annie Get Your Gun.
Annie and Siskel are the highest. But Annie, no matter what...
Annie, the one with Tomorrow.
Yeah, is a little higher than them.
Ooh, wow. Now, you didn't see that on stage, actually. But you've seen it on TV.
Yes, and now the thing that's the highest to me is Annie.
Annie Get Your Gun. Or just Annie?
Annie.
In other words, Annie is the one with tomorrow.
Yeah.
It gets very confusing, doesn't it? Because both shows have the name Annie in it. Yo-ho, Mrs. Bloom! She's back! In the 50s, one of the most popular situation comedies on television was The Goldbergs. Today, that show and its star, Gertrude Berg, have completely disappeared from the airwaves, and the name means very little to a lot of people. But our guest tonight is determined to change that. With me this evening is Elaine Wilkes, who is starring in a one-woman show, The Theory of Relatives,
Right, that's right.
which is about Gertrude Berg,
Yes.
best known as Molly Goldberg.
Yes, that was her alter ego.
First, I think since you really can't find the Goldbergs on television
That's right.
anymore, maybe you can tell me a little about that series.
Well, it was called The Rise of the Goldbergs. It was on radio first. And Gertrude Berg not only starred in it, but she wrote all of those scripts. And that goes back to the 20s, 1929 actually she began, and she was on the radio for 20 years. And then she was able to segue into television. And she, as a actress, continued, and she did Broadway in a majority of one, and won a Tony Award.
Which she also wrote that show.
No, that's about the only
that she
thing
didn't write.
she did that she didn't write. She did write another show called Molly and Me, in which she starred. And that was very much like the Goldbergs.
So she was actually a contemporary of people such as Jack Benny, Burns and
That's right.
Allen, and I guess to an extent Lucille Ball, although she was a little before that.
Yes, as a matter of fact, in the show, at the point where she is upset because she hasn't been asked to be on television, she says there were only two things wrong, Burns and Allen, because they were on television and she wasn't, which bothered her.
Now, the Goldbergs was about a Jewish family.
Yes.
Originally, I think, living in the Bronx or somewhere in the city.
1038 East Tremont Avenue, the Bronx.
The Bronx. 1038 East. That was actually not too far from where my grandmother lived.
Oh, really?
Her house was on West Tremont.
Well, there was an interview. In fact, our show takes place on the eve of her interview with Edward R. Murrow, which she did for Person to Person in 1954.
I should have a cigarette, I guess, if I'm doing this interview.
Right, no, better that you don't. And she said that there actually was not a 1038 East Tremont Avenue, the Bronx, so she went there to look for it. But of course, there were many places like that, and it was very much based on her own family, her friends, people that she knew.
Right. Gertrude Berg or Molly Goldberg are both fairly obscure in this day and age.
Yes.
What made you decide to revive the character, or to revive the lady, I should say?
Well, perhaps because she is obscure at this point, and I think she deserves not to be, that she should be better known. She accomplished a great deal as a woman, as a Jew, as a mother who was torn, a very contemporary kind of conflict, because she was torn between her obligations to her home and her family and her career. She loved work, but she loved her family too.
Well, did she have a stable family life?
Very stable. She had 2 children. She had a husband. She dedicated all of her books to him, and she constantly refers to her children. She wrote her autobiography with her son, Cherney, and was a wonderful mother and wife and grandmother. But nonetheless, there was a constant conflict. Was she giving enough time and attention to her family?
Have you been in contact with any of her family members?
Yes, I was in contact with her son when I first started the project, and he was very wonderful and gave me permission to use material from the autobiography. And I've invited him to the show. Of course, I hope he and his family will come.
The show is playing where?
We're at the Producers Club, which is on 358 West 44th Street, between 8th and 9th. We will be there on weekends for the month of November. Performances are Fridays, Saturdays, and Mondays at 8, and Sunday matinees at 3, starting November 1st.
Okay. Now, we have a special treat this evening for everybody, because Elaine is kindly consented to do a few minutes.
I will do a few
Give
minutes
us a
for
preview.
you.
So
Yes, a little preview, an exclusive preview.
We're going to let you go and change into your apron.
Okay, right.
And we
Very
look forward
good.
to seeing it. This is The Theory of Relative.
The theory of relatives, yes.
And
Einstein said,
Yes. Einstein had the theory of relatives. Molly has relativity. Molly has the theory of relatives.
right, says we're not going to quibble.
Okay. So we're going to let Elaine go and change, and we'll be right back with The They're your relative.
Thank you, Charles.
If my wife is watching this show, I just have one thing to say about Body Shop. He made me see it. He said, Charlie, I really want to cover this show. You gotta see it.
And you know why I made him see it? Because he hates full frontal male nudity, but he doesn't mind full female frontal nudity.
There was no full female frontal nudity.
Though there wasn't full, but it was topless.
Yes. This
I figured,
is a show about strippers. Here's the plot. A movie producer for a Tom Cruise movie needs a stripper to appear. He is going to choose the one that has this special something. So the girls have to all go out and do the best they can in the hopes that they'll be chosen.
That they have that special something.
Do you recognize this plot? Of course you do. You've read it on the cover of about a dozen X-rated films in the video store. That's where it's from.
Charlie,
yes.
How do you know all this about X-rated films in the video store?
Well, you have to research a show when you're going to review it, of course.
I spend all my time in the theater. I don't sit and watch X-rated videos.
And did you see the blonde in the middle, in the second segment? Where did she get that outfit? Was that a cast-off from Mummenschanz?
Oh, you are so mean.
For
once, I'm being the nice one. Who could believe it? Let me tell you, I thought this musical had a lot of. It's not completely finished. It has not a great ending.
Oh, it's finished. It's finished. It was finished before it began.
It doesn't have a great ending, but
nope.
I really don't.
Great middle either.
I thought it was somewhat
so-so.
I thought it was interesting. I really did. Yes. I thought that. Well, it has a really good cast. I think that people in it. You have Donna Drake from Chorus Line. I mean, let's face it. She opened in Chorus Line 20 years ago almost. I mean, what a body.
How's the air conditioning in your theater?
The air conditioning's great in our theater. We lucked out. I know that Blood Brothers, they didn't have enough air conditioning in the theater, so they actually took it away from the actors' dressing rooms and put it into the house, so they were all dying.
A cool 58 degrees, or if you want it colder, just come on in and we'll turn it down.
You think has a better tie?
Oh, well, definitely you do.
That's the right thing to say, right?
Yeah, do I know how to get an interview?
Right, exactly.